everybody, I'm Lucy, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is all about classics. As you may already probably know, I'm a big classical reader. I adore classics. I studied English literature. There's something about classics that just take me back into the joy of reading. And a lot of people ask me how to get into classics, so this is a beginner's guide to classics. If you've never read any classics, if you're scared of starting to read classics, so this is my video all about classics, what books you need to kind of start you off on and to help your reading really progress. So I find the easiest classics to read are ones that are short, whose language isn't too archaic, so it needs to be somewhat readable, where you don't need a degree to kind of read the book and digest and pick out every word and translate the word and see what it means. But these are classics that I found really easy to get into, and I think you will too. So I will always start a future classical reader off on the journey of Jane Austen. I love Austen so much. I probably go on about Jane Austen so much on this channel. I love her. I think this started my joy of reading. I read Pride and Prejudice when I was about 13 or 14, fell in love with it, and then I read every single thing Jane Austen wrote. So I'm holding up Pride and Prejudice here, which is perhaps her most popular work, I would say. She didn't write this first, that was Sense and Sensibility, but Pride and Prejudice is really famous because it's just such a special, warm, funny book. It's also really readable, and I know the size might put people off. It is, you know, it's quite a long book, but it's still really accessible. There are also tons of movie and TV adaptations for this. My favourites are the 1995 TV series on BBC and the 2005 film starring Keira Knightley. I adore that film. I just love the look of it. So what you could do is read this book first and then look forward to watching the film, and that might give you some incentive to really get through it. But also, it's so funny, and I wish I could go back to the day of reading this for the first time because I fell in love with it. The last novel of Jane Austen's that was published is Persuasion, and that novel I don't actually have with me at this moment, but it's one of my favourites, and it's very, very short, so you are going to race through that one. And also, I find that Persuasion is a really great novel for beginners because this is when Jane was writing in her prime. It was perhaps the last novel that she ever wrote, and it's beautiful, and I'd really recommend that if you've not read any classics or you're starting off on your journey to read more classics. The second book I don't actually have a physical copy of, but it's The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I love this novel mainly because when I was reading it, I didn't feel like I was reading a classic. I felt I was reading not a YA novel, but something that was really fast-paced and really gripping and had a great plot at the heart of it. And Oscar Wilde is extraordinary. And I think he's just got a way of writing that transports you into that world. So I would definitely try out The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's incredible, and everybody knows the story of Dorian Gray, but you can say you've read the novel and it's just a brilliant novel. So please do try reading that one. You're guaranteed to love it. My third choice would be The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So, The Great Gatsby, everybody's heard about it. It's on so many school curriculums. You're going to probably read it if you've not already read it in your life. It's got all this hype, but for a reason. I adore it because the writing is so poetic, but it's not so poetic that it clogs you up. It's also really, really clever. And I think I first fell in love with it when I was studying it. So it allowed me to see the metaphors and the imagery. But I think if you're just reading it for pleasure, you're going to appreciate it all the same. I just find the characters really stand out, and it's just such a brilliant, enigmatic novel. F. Scott Fitzgerald is a brilliant writer, and also you get to look forward to all the brilliant film adaptations for it. It's fair to say a lot of these classics I'm talking about will have film adaptations or TV adaptations. So that's the good thing about classics. If you're struggling, you could perhaps just watch a TV or film adaptation because I guarantee the book is going to be better. My fourth suggestion for a beginner's guide to classics is this brilliant, brilliant series that I keep banging on about. It is the Penguin Little Black Classics, and these are really, really short classics that Penguin released for their 80th birthday or something like that, but each of these classics is 80p. And they're just really, really digestible. There's loads of them, and they're all by really, really famous authors, but they're their short stories or poems. So I have a couple here. So Thomas Hardy's Woman Much Missed. I love Thomas Hardy. I thought I'd pick this one up. It just allows you to get a lot of classics read just in a really, really short format, and it allows you to broaden the type of classics you're reading, whether it's poetry, a play, a novel. So very, very diverse mix of classics there, and you're guaranteed to get through these really, really quickly because they are so short. So I find these really handy to just pop in your bag if you're on the train or you're commuting to school or work or you're travelling. These are brilliant. You can read a classic in about half an hour. It's brilliant. I also recently have gotten into Greek tragedies. I've not read many ancient Greek texts or anything. This is all quite new to me in terms of classics. I recently picked up Euripides, Medea and other plays. So I find plays a really, really great way to read classics because I find that they're a lot quicker to go through because you're just reading dialogue. You don't have to kind of read through really heavy descriptions. You're just reading what people are saying to each other. Very, very quick to read, and I find this a really, really satisfying read because there's 4 plays in here. Really digestible, really, really great and quick to read through, and also you can show off and say, I've just finished Greek Tragedy by Euripides. It's perfect. And my final classics for beginners recommendation has to be Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. So why? You've probably heard millions of things about this book. Everybody bangs on about this book because it's just one of these modern classics that everybody falls in love with. I think everybody needs to read this book because it's not inaccessible. It's not a book that was written hundreds of years ago and that the language is still a bit of a barrier to you. This is written in really easy to understand text. Harper Lee is a really brilliant writer, and also the subject is engrossing. You will find this on a lot of school curriculums, so if you are being forced to read this for school, try and enjoy it and try and see why is it on the curriculum in the first place, and I think you will start to truly appreciate the writing, the plot and the message behind this classic. So guys, to those of you who are just starting out on this classical adventure, do let me know how you're getting on, and to those of you who are already seasoned classical readers, do leave your suggestions in the comment bar below, where new readers of classics can go to the comments and just see millions of suggestions, and that'll be really, really helpful. If you enjoyed this video, or if you think this was somewhat helpful, please do subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. I would really, really appreciate it. And until next time guys, bye!